Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Wilds War Cry. I'm your host, Stephen Wilds. Alright, so I know some of you, a lot of you actually, probably don't take the time to read the description in the info or the news on the site, so I'm going to put it to you like this. The reason you're looking at video game footage and not wrestling matches is because YouTube are kind of dicks when it comes to copyright protection. That being said, watch this until I find something else more suitable, or, do what most people do and just leave it on in the background. Alright, for this week's show, I usually take some time and discuss the week in wrestling, cover TNA, WWE, whatever else I found interesting. I'm not going to do that this time. Some people were complaining that the episodes were getting a little bit too long. Also, I think I lose some of the focus when I try to cover everything. So, as it stands right now, I have two matches I want to talk about from the past WWE event, Extreme Rules. These are two matches I was looking forward to, but they were both very different, and they both came out differently than I expected them to. And I'm going to explain a little bit of why that was and what happened. But before we get into that, I do want to take just a moment to talk about a couple of the other matches on the pay-per-view and give them a quick once-over. It was a very energetic opening first match. The three-way, I liked it. I'm glad Cesaro won. Still not sold on his music. It was a very good Divas match. I really am not sure why WWE is concerned about Paige. I think with a little bit of guidance, okay, maybe a decent amount of guidance, and some good writing, I think they have something on their hands, especially when AJ returns. That looks like it could be an amazing program. I would love to see some submission battles between those two divas. I was glad to see Barrett get the win. He deserved the IC belt, even though this is I think his fourth time holding it. I'm still, I love Big E, but I'm not sure they really knew what to do with him in that position. So give it to Barrett. Let him run with it for a little bit, see what you can do, and hopefully there'll be something for Big E in the future. It was a really fun closing title match. I thought both Daniel Bryan and Kane both did a great job. That's probably one of the more entertaining Kane matches that I've seen in a very long time, and they did a couple of neat set pieces. The match just had a couple of lulls, but those points in the match where the action just doesn't seem to catch up, sometimes you need those for kind of a roller coaster ride, and that's what they're trying to do right now with those two. So we'll see how that ends up. My one concern is that this might be a feud that goes too long. Okay, the two matches. Starting off, Evolution versus The Shield. I personally really didn't care that they put Evolution back together, but those are three competitors that don't completely suck. I actually am a pretty huge Triple H mark, so, whatever. It's cool to see three guys that you don't get to see wrestle a lot wrestling against a team I absolutely love. Also, there was some great build-up to this match. That episode of SmackDown where the Shield took out all the participants, well, not all, but most of the participants of the 11-on-3 match that was supposed to happen that night, and the other matches they did, and just a lot of stuff that the Shield had to go through. It built up to it. The times where the Shield couldn't get their hands on Evolution because of the rest of the roster, as they say, sometimes you got to make the audience wait for it. Make them wait for the payoff. And if you do that correctly, the match is bigger. This match had a lot of really good action. I believe it was Alex Riley who said that Seth Rollins was certainly the MVP of that match, and he was not wrong. Seth Rollins did some amazing stuff. That dive was great. It was really good because it was brutal, but yet I don't think there was hardly a single weapon used in the match. In fact, I can't recall any right now. Ambrose sells so well in everything he does, and it was amazing. I just loved his facial expressions and the reactions when he gets thrown around. I love that he and Seth Rollins both are just ragdolls when it comes to getting their asses beat. It works. It really works, and especially, it was an Extreme Rules pay-per-view, and they could have used probably any number of items to do, but they just used the building itself. And I think it worked, and they were probably, I don't know if they were worried about protecting each other or whatever, what was going on. why it was decided to do the match the way it was, but it worked. At no point until the end of the match did I question why items weren't being used, because they did such a good job with it. The going into the crowd kind of gave it a little bit of an old school and a up close feel. It felt like some of the more classic, brawls that we've seen on WWE television. I really enjoyed that part, and the camera crew did an amazing job of focusing on what it needed to until the end. And I think everybody saw the end coming. Not saying that everybody predicted the winner, but once it was going, it got pretty obvious who was going to win. The Shield left it all out there, and Evolution did great. But I kind of could tell towards the midway point of the match what was going on, and this wasn't a story-driven match. It was a very classic Team A versus Team B for X reason, but there was so much that happened beforehand, and the Shield have kind of been on this weird ride with the fans since turning face that it just worked. The pacing of the match was very good. I was never bored at any point in the match. So, sometimes if the match just isn't holding my attention, I turn to my computer or start playing with my phone, but that did not happen at all in this match. I understand what people are saying, that, they did this to kind of pass the torch, but to be honest, sure, that's a good favor and everything, but I think also the Shield really was booked backwards for a while. They started at the top in the main event and then went down for a while, and kind of had to put in some work, and then they've really come back up. But not only is this a match back up, this is allowing them to be put over one of the stables that just really kind of held they were the benchmark for a while. They set the bar, and I think they've even said that exactly before. But I agree, and the win, for this to be their first pay-per-view match, and for them to win, I think is a really great statement, and it's one that I enjoyed. There was a lot going on. I thought the match is one I will probably go back and rewatch. And it was better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a decent match, but it was better than I thought. It turned out better than I thought. The Raw following, with Ambrose losing his title, his U.S. title, was just another, another thorn in the Shield side. It's them proving that we're not done with you yet. And I'm interested to see, how this is all going to work out. Obviously, what happened at the end of Raw, it makes me want more of this feud. I'm not tired of this. I know a couple of people were saying they thought that should have been the end of it, but my only question in that is, should that have been the end of it with Batista about to take time off? And maybe they'll pull in another person. Maybe they'll figure something interesting out. I really hope they do. And I'm not even going to speculate on this. This is one time I'd actually like to be surprised and see what they do story-wise to either keep this going or put a very fitting cap on it. And they need to be careful because, letting it sit through Batista's return might not be the best idea, or if they just end it very abruptly, it could kind of undo some of the hard work they've put into it. But this is one of the better things that WWE's done recently, and they've done a lot of good stuff recently. This pay-per-view wasn't better, obviously, than WrestleMania 30, and not in my opinion, but they're continuing some good work here, and they needed to do that because the last couple of Raws haven't been great. So, that was a really good match. The other match that I wanted to talk about, though, was John Cena versus Bray Wyatt. And this was another match that I was really looking forward to because I liked the match at WrestleMania. And in a way, I'm going to eat my own words here because I said they should do a less story-driven match and do a more physical match next and let Bray Wyatt win. The problem was I didn't think that through all the way, and I admit to that. This match had some build-up, of course. They had the previous match at WrestleMania, as we talked about, and they've been doing more with it. But there was a little bit more pressure on this match to kind of take it home than there was on the previous match I talked about, because I think as long as they beat each other's asses, it was coming. But the build up has been a little bit different, and it's been more with this particular match because there needed to be a bigger payoff. I think sometimes when you build these grandiose feuds, there has to be an amazing payoff if you're gonna build that high. You have to be willing to go all the way to the top. These are two very good competitors. I know people rag Cena, but he does this thing in the ring, and he's not a bad wrestler. Cage matches are really hard, though. Cage matches, they're fun. They get people excited, but they're hard to book, and it shows. And they're especially hard to book an ending. That's always a little bit tricky. And with this particular one, we knew that there was a group, already going to be on the outside in Rowan and Harper, and we knew they'd get involved. But I think they actually managed to do probably that part the best in this match. So their involvement got pretty creative. It kept Cena on the inside, even though it was a little overdone. And when Harper actually got pulled into the ring about halfway through the match, or a little more than halfway, it really kind of helped up the action a little bit. I think my issue in this one was there was less chance for them to do story in this one. And I think because they had built up everything so much, that was what I didn't realize it was going to be missing from this. Because now, after watching that particular match twice, I think what really it could have benefited from was Cena getting his ass kicked a little bit more, giving time for Bray Wyatt to talk, to yell at him, to either try to bring the monster in him back out, or even if he just wanted to go on a tirade about how Cena was manipulating all the little kids or whatever he's been going on about, And I think they kind of lost that element, and they tried to fit that in with the ending. The only thing I will say is that there was a little bit more character, because they are both very kind of ground and pound, very, physical fighters, strength-wise and what they do. But this did give them both a little bit more of a chance to kind of, separate themselves, show their styles a little bit differently. It's just that the match had a very odd pacing. They both got their shots in. It was just an oddly paced match. And I really kind of struggled to say much more than that, because you kind of just have to watch the match to understand where I'm coming from here. The match itself is good. It's not horrible. It just doesn't flow well. And I think the ending, like I said, it picks up, but it's not enough. I think that beginning, maybe there should have been another high spot in there. Perhaps the beginning was the best place to put some of the story and to make the match feel, a little bit better, a little bit more grandiose. But that's hard to say. And I think the non-traditional ending with the child is just something that it was neat. But here's my biggest problem: it doesn't establish Bray Wyatt. He really most likely needed a clean victory over Cena. Or at least I was hoping that Bray Wyatt would not jump out of the cage. I actually thought at first he was going to bring the child into the cage, and he and the child together were going to pin John Cena. And I think that would have been a little bit better of an ending. Because we needed that scene of John Cena, being defeated kind of at the end there. And I think that could have been a lot better. I also think, using the kid was, it was creepy, but it just wasn't what was needed. I don't think there's going to be a great lasting effect. I think it didn't do as much for the story as you kind of blew your load already a little bit earlier, WWE, with having the whole choir up there. So when you use the one kid in the auto-tune, I don't know. It didn't work as well as I'd wanted it to, and maybe I'm being a little bit too critical. This might be a match when I go back to watch the Evolution vs. Shield match again, I may watch this one again, and I'm definitely entitled to change my opinions. But as of right now, I just really feel the ending didn't work as well as I wanted it to. even after thinking about it for a while. The only good part I'll really say is that Cena not being on Raw helped, because it looked like he really affected John Cena, and I think if they actually go further with this, it might help. Maybe it'll help all of this out. It'll do some good. As of this recording, I have not watched Cena's response on Main Event, but I'm not expecting too much from it. John Cena is definitely not bad with promos in any way, but the character itself, I don't see doing anything very interesting with this, and I hope to be proven wrong. And I really hope that there's more to this story. I'm sure there's someone out there that's like, oh, they just need to go ahead and end this feud, but they've built this thing up. I now want that huge masterful ending. They need to headline one of the smaller pay-per-views coming up. And if you want to go full Undertaker and you want to let Bray do his magic, fine, but go big or go home. But if you really want to establish Bray Wyatt and you want him to have a lasting impact, their last match needs to end with Bray Wyatt on top of Cena for the 1-2-3. And that is what's going to make him a threat. That's what's going to make him... Bray Wyatt's already good. Bray Wyatt is already somewhat memorable. Even if he quit wrestling tomorrow, people would probably talk about him for a while. But if you want to really drive this home, and I think if Cena, I don't know, but I'm guessing that if Cena could be talked to about it, I'm sure he could, see this as well. And I'm hoping that maybe he'll let that happen story-wise. But either way, I'm interested. I don't know. This felt like more of a hiccup, and whereas these two matches were both something I was looking for, like I said, looking forward to. Shield, impressed me more. Evolution did great. That match did better than I thought it was going to, and the Cena Wyatt match underperformed a little bit in my opinion, but I'm still interested, so it did something right. I don't know. I'm really hoping what they do next is amazing. All right, for those of you who may disagree with me, you know how to leave a comment. You can do that on this YouTube video. You can do that on the Wrestling News Source website, or you can follow me on Twitter at Stephen Wilds and talk to me there about it. Either way, this has been Stephen Wilds with another edition of the Wilds War Cry. See you next time.